Should we jump right into it? I cannot contain my excitement. I have hyped it up not as the best, but as my personal favorite mini arc. It is one of my favorite parts of all of One Piece. I love Jaya so much.
Before we talk, I have to get you to try to remember what chapter I was supposed to start on and what chapter I'm supposed to end on, because I can never remember.
I believe it was 218 to 236.
I'm going to rock it out.
Yeah, we finally have Blackbeard's canonical laugh. I think they were still translating most laughs as ha ha ha, so it wasn't in your translation. But to a Japanese reader, they would know that the series' best laugh has entered the chat. It is Zay ha ha time.
Oh, wow. That's way better.
Yeah, no, Blackbeard's laugh is so good. Zay ha ha ha! God, I love it. You got up last time to a ship falls out of the sky. That's the beginning of the Jaya arc.
And then what do I say? Holy crap, a ship fell out of the sky. We're going up. Monkey D. Luffy and I were both on the exact same page. Time to fly a boat upwards. I had started to think to myself, yeah, I've got the edges figured out. Things aren't going to be that shocking anymore. I'm pretty good.
Yep.
And we're not going to do things that are so crazy that they're going to be crazier than the other things that have already been crazy. And then the log post pointed up and a boat fell on our head. And I was like, or, hear me out, I'm wrong. And then, of course, the boys decide to go down and in amazing scuba suits, maybe the best scuba suits ever made. So they go down there, and on top of the water, we're meeting some excellent monkey dudes. I loved that boat. The very first boat with the monkey power on the top. Are we feeding good Bellamy?
We're feeding good Bellamy, yes. Someone has paid for a good Bellamy treat with points. Come on up. There you go, baby.
I love Salvage King Masira. Such a cool character. And more importantly, I adored his boat. The monkey on the front with the two little symbols. Fantastic. Love the banana crossbone behind a non-dead monkey. Just a face rather than a skull. Good call, dude. Primo boat. So I'm going to move us all the way forward. Although I just need to say before we move forward, excellent turtle. It's at the very end of the first chapter there. And it is and then again in the beginning because the turtle is eating whole boats. It is absolutely ginormous. Then we move forward and you're like, doo-doo-doo. And what do we see? Darkness. Darkness? Why are we seeing darkness? Huge giants in the background, but they're not only giants, they're giants with wings. I'm always so impressed with Oda's ability to create perspective. Because you have like little boat, little bit bigger boat, giant turtle, insane giants with spears.
I'll say I've complimented Oda with scale before, and people are like, he's terrible with scale. It's really inconsistent. It's not consistency. It's a feeling of scale being evoked. That's what I'm trying to say Oda's great at.
I think that people need to remember, like, the feeling is the more important part here.
Mm-hmm. The feeling of how big something is matters more. You're reading a story.
I think one of the weirder things is that another way that he evokes the feeling, whether it is the right way to do it or not, and something that people aren't seeing, is they're just standing in the damn ocean. Mm-hmm. They're standing where a moment ago our crew went down in the world's safest scuba gear, went deep, deep under, and now we know that these giants are so big that they are, what does it look like? Some of them thigh high, some of them knee high deep in ocean. And just kind of relaxed with it. Robin, not doing a lot yet. I'm looking forward to Robin doing more.
Robin's hanging out. Robin's having a ride with the crew.
Yeah, well, exactly. A ride. That's what it feels like she's hanging out.
It does feel that way, but I'd say to all the commenters who are saying that she didn't officially join the crew, so I shouldn't give you a purple mushroom. It's kind of disrespectful to Luffy, being as she said, "You're my captain," and Luffy said, "Sure." So it feels like that meets the criteria crewmate to me. Unless you want to disrespect our captain's authority.
Please.
If you want to disrespect our captain's authority, I get it. She's not technically a crewmate. But I, for one, want to respect Luffy's authority as captain.
Trying to call down the authority of Luffy? I mean...
I am. Yeah. No, I'm not trying to disrespect our captain is what I'm doing.
He's just learning to have any authority. He's so little with it right now. It's not really, like, difficult to shake around. Jaya, what a cool town. I'm kind of surprised when I hear some people talking about how they didn't like Jaya. Yeah, that people were like, like in book chat, some people were saying that they knew people who were like, yeah, Jaya's not really all that important. The minute that something is smaller, I feel that Oda does an incredible job of saying, hey, Why don't I just leave 350,000 little seeds, change the shape of the world, and make you work hard? So that's what we do in Jaya, in my opinion. This was one of the very first places that it felt like kind of a traditional pirate movie, and that any minute now we would see Johnny Depp stroll by dressed up in his character. And then we immediately meet some of the characters that are going to be really, really important, like Blackbeard's crew. But right away we see Bellamy put a knife through somebody's hand, which is a very traditional way to have a pirate town. You're like, oh, now we're in a pirate town. Blood is dripping out of someone's hand.
You want things to feel piratey, put a knife through a hand.
And so then you're like, yeah, here we go. Hyena could not be a better name for him. Come on. That's exactly what he reminds me of as a hyena. I call kids who are out of control and cause mayhem without thinking hyenas, so I couldn't like it more. 223, we are watching them walk through the town, and they meet one of Blackbeard's people. We don't know it at the time. I got to tell you, death and being on the edge of dying, that's a really big flex for a doctor.
It's a wild character trait for a doctor to have. I'm almost dead all the time.
It's also a weird thing that he's just carrying around a basket of apples that we don't see the rest of the time. And then, of course, Luffy just eats one. And this is one of the times where the people right away are talking about, specifically people talk about what a lucky boy Luffy is in multi-panels. I tried to go back and look in other arcs for all the different places. There were too many. So it started to kind of add up into part of the story that for later on I've created for Luffy. So we go into the bar scene, and I think this is one of the ones that I could have spent ever so long on.
Yeah.
Because first you have the moment that everybody loves to talk about with, this cherry pie is so bad I could die. This cherry pie is so good I could die. Huh? And you told me that people said what?
Basically, since Blackbeard got revealed to be Blackbeard, a theory has been that because his crew seems to be a dark opposite of the Straw Hats, that this is foreshadowing the One Piece, and that either it'll be inverted and they'll arrive at Raftel together and Blackbeard will hate what the One Piece is and Luffy will love it, or it'll be played straight and Luffy will hate what the One Piece is and Blackbeard will love it. That's been a popular fan theory forever, and I feel like that's one I'm comfortable sharing.
I really like this moment too, because we were talking earlier that they felt like kind of the doppelganger. So it was pretty cool when they came in and had like the exact opposite reaction to the pie and the drink. I think that was fantastic. But the reason that I love this, and somebody said it here, that Luffy pulls a Shanks, is I think it's pretty cool that in the last arc in Alabasta, we had that great moment with Zoro where he got to have this reflection on his sensei and really feel like he came back to his sensei's teaching and back to his ideas and realized what he'd learned in the moment. And I think it was a very underplayed thing to have Luffy decide like Bellamy actually isn't worth fighting, and pulling everything out and having this fight with him right now would do me absolutely no good and isn't the time that I want to play my cards. His value wasn't attached to his ego, and he allowed his ego not to be attached to the moment. And I'm going to allow that moment despite my need to quit saying that word. Don't make it a drinking game. You'll die.
You will be dead. You will be deceased. We reach a part that's very, very important to me, which is meeting Blackbeard outside where he's like, you kicked that guy's ass. Congratulations.
It's going to be different for me watching this happen because you've already told me that Blackbeard is one of your favorite characters ever, so I'm looking at it a little bit differently.
Here's the thing, though. That while Blackbeard became more and more my favorite, this scene hit immediately for me. First viewing, this is one of my favorite scenes in the series. It puts him on such a different level for him to be the only person who can see the truth of the situation. No, you kicked his ass there. I can tell what happened. I know you could have beaten him up, and you didn't even have to, because you could tell he wasn't a big enough deal to even worry about. Congratulations. You're the only person here who actually gets it. Like, he amps up Luffy. He's such a fan of him. So even before I knew this was Blackbeard, on my first viewing of the series, this scene fucking killed for me. When nobody else knows what's happening and Blackbeard's the guy who's like, no, I saw what happened there. You fucking killed that guy. It's so good for me. I love that intro so much.
I not only agree, but when you go to, because this is when I was like, oh, because of this page and because of a look on this page, it kind of changed my mind about something later on. So on this page where I'm just like, doo-doo-doo, I was like, oh, damn, there's a lot going on in here. First, you have somebody who intentionally sat outside. He separated himself, begins eating pie right away. Your comeback was impressive, too. You've got guts on the next panel. Luffy whaps his hat back on. The new age they spoke of is rubbish. The age of pirates' dreams is over. Ha! It's so perfect. People's dreams don't ever end. What a stunning couple of pages.
So fucking see, this isn't one of my favorite scenes in the series because Blackbeard's one of my favorite characters. Blackbeard's one of my favorite characters because this is one of my favorite scenes in the series. I can't express how hype it is to have this be the only man who understands the truth of the moment.
I love it. And right down on the end of one of the page, what's this about people's dreams? It isn't easy to be great. That's great.
It's so great for me because he's hyping up Luffy. He's Luffy's biggest fan in this moment. He's like, this kid rocks.
But it's also what we talked about, the Shikara Ganaya. It's that idea that this can't be helped. You're in it. And some things have to happen. It's not easy being great, but what good things are coming from this moment that you're getting out of it? So that was pretty fantastic.
Fucking love this scene so much. So hyped to be on Jaya.
And more important, if you're trying to convince me that Blackbeard is awesome, then for me it's let them laugh if you're aiming for the top. You don't always need your fist to show your might.
God, yeah.
If you're aiming for the top, that is
the fact
fantastic.
That he immediately can tell this kid is a big shot.
I'm going to have to admit, that was a stunning introduction to a character. I loved going off and seeing the monkey guys. P.S. I just want to put out there that I hope that when we get our ship right, that they belong to these monkey guys.
You want the monkey guys to join the cruiser ship, right? Now, I notice you want it, but you're not feeling confident enough to predict it. So I feel like...
I'm not there yet. I might.
Yeah.
Don't this pedal goes up me. I'm having a moment.
No, I know. You haven't said you predict it. You're not locked in when you say you want something. Honestly, I feel like I'm more prone to locking you in if you say you don't want something, because I don't think you'd bring something up that you don't want unless you thought it would happen.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the thing, for instance, about Ace. I'm not ready.
Yeah. No. We can save that one.
No, I'm not ready. And I don't feel good about it. It makes me uncomfortable.
I've told you, I've tempted you because I love making big swings, that if you commit to that one off air, when you mentioned this, you have a certain theory there, if it came true, you'd get a diamond star.
And I told you it's not a prediction I'd want to put down. Redeemed to highlight my message. Forbidden prediction.
Yeah, the prediction that you don't want to even say because I guess you're worried you'll manifest it.
No, I don't want to manifest it. I want to talk about it. I hate it.
I should highlight that I am the real villain of the Jaya arc. I straight up said, hey, this is one of the most lore-dense parts of the series. There is no comb too fine-toothed for going through it. I set her up for insanity this time. And I'm not wrong. That's not a lie, but I genuinely have wondered if it was wrong of me to say that.
God, no. Because usually you're like, maybe you should just enjoy it as well. Maybe. And I'm like, I am enjoying it. And this time you were like, don't leave any stone unturned. And I was like, oh, say less. You betcha. Let's go. Okay, Noland the Liar. Like I said, I am loving this whole different kind of arc. This is an amazing style, a whole new thing. It's got so many little clues in it. And I didn't spend as much time in Noland the Liar, so I'm going to do a separate pull Noland the Liar aside for me and read it where I have it on my little thing here. It says, read Noland the Liar as if it's the whole story. Because I want to spend a whole bunch of time in there, but I was like, I'm sorry, Noland. After I saw the elders, I had work to do.
They're a little bit demanding of your attention, huh?
They were absolutely the bossiest freaking characters, reminiscent of Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, the arc does out of nowhere introduce the leaders of the world government.
Exactly. So because I got introduced to the elders and I had all this other stuff going on, I was like, Noland, you are not getting the due you deserve. I really enjoy Cricket. His character is fantastic. It reminds me of in Japanese history, there is a family called Satsuma. And it was a historic event where somebody had wronged this family, and they waited for revenge for like, I want to say 250, 300 years, the Sasuma family. And then they got their massive, massive revenge. And so this part with Noland and Cricket and him trying to clear his family name reminded me of that idea of, you know, how long people hold their respect and how important it is to clear your family name, and how putting your familial loyalties first is so important. So it made totally perfect sense that you would have this guy absolutely decimating himself in order to clear his name. And so in my head, I called him Sasuma. He's a great good boy, you know, because he's friends with the two big monkey boys. And I'm a big fan of the monkey boys. So they take care of him and they become great, great friends. And that's how it should have been. All of that was right. What weirdo he was, though. He's like, go off in the bush and find this bird. No, I'm not going to help you, which went really well for him because he got tanked. He doesn't even really think that Skypiea is real, which is so interesting given that it's in the book of Noland, given that it is his family. He's trying to clear Noland's name. You think out of all the things that he would be like, oh, no, that's fully true. Good for you. Good for you for believing. And he's like, nah. Going through the pealing of the bell and the partying, because like you said, Oda likes to have parties. We're learning a lot of the backstory, getting to see some of the great treasures that they found, having a little time where they get to all hang out together and have us not be in the middle of hell, which is a nice thing to do. Yeah. And then they send them off into the woods with crazy bugs, crazy animals, and we realize that the South Bird is coordinating an attack. And we realize that Usopp, who's generally afraid of all the things ever, likes to play with tarantulas, and that's great. I used to play Spider Wars when I was a kid, as we all did.
It highlights how Usopp is a brave person, that he doesn't have any irrational fears. He's not scared of bugs and snakes at all. It's just things that could actually kill the man he's scared of.
Yeah, 100%. And yes, I would agree. Without Robin, they wouldn't have caught the birds. So...
Points to my girl Nico Robin.
It's not like I don't love her. I love the kid. She's awesome. She rocks it out big time. It's just that I hadn't seen her.
Luffy.
No, I just hadn't seen her do a lot that is like for the crew, and she disappears. And I'm like, what's your agenda, Robin? Because I know you know where the big weapon is. So every time you leave the crew, I freak out.
Do you think that Robin's just going to walk off and sell the location of a fucking weapon of mass destruction?
No. I think that if you knew information and you just needed a little bit of background in order to know where it goes, because she just wants to know where it is or wants to find it. I think she has a secondary agenda other than crew, and I think it's her first and then kind of crew on the side. I don't think she's properly crew yet, is my point.
And I think the second the captain says, yes, you're in my crew, and the person says, I'm in your crew, that person's in the goddamn crew.
I think in her heart, it's still her. And then crew.
Hey, don't worry. You were very explicit, so we are going to respect this, that your next prediction isn't about who joins, which can be a little bit more subjective. It is what person the Straw Hats pick to join the crew next. Very specific. That can't be misinterpreted.
No.
What?
I'm concerned that something else is going to happen and I'm never going to pick a crew again. You're trying to genie me now. This is Jin talk. I can hear it and feel it.
I'm sorry. When you make a prediction, I'm going to take the exact wording. The prediction is locked in. The pedal has gone up.
I'm not playing your Jin talk.
I am the one who hands out the stars and mushrooms.
Just a minute. Rub, 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 rub. Jin. My first wish is that you can't use your Jin talk on me.
I have to do push-ups as a punishment.
You know what, Sapphire? I see you and I appreciate you. He's down on the ground now, pushing up like a kid who should be. If it please the court, I'm trying to move through quickly because I want to get to the part that I'm excited.
Me too. We gotta push through quickly. So they get back. Cricket's beat to shit because Bellamy's done paid him a visit because Cricket was a dick and didn't want to help. Because let's be honest, if he helped, he would have been fucking fine. He would have come back with the Straw Hats and
Exactly. Remember when I said earlier who made bad choices? Because he let everyone go and he was like, okay, off you go. Go find your own damn bird. And I was like, if you had gone like a good kid, you wouldn't have got the living shit beat out of you.
Yeah. Bellamy would have shown up and been like, oh, the Straw Hat Kid. And then just been pounded. The end.
Is that what Bellamy's voice sounded like in the anime?
A little bit like that. I kind of jokered it up a little bit. But look, it wasn't the worst impression I've done.
This person, do that Bellamy again, please. Give her.
Okay. Straw Hat Brat, can I get a number 5 and a large Coke?
And then in these panels, I've got to say, up until now, we haven't had any moonscapes, right? And then, boom, right in this moment, as Luffy is running back to the town, and as this dude is about to get the newspaper that talks about how their bounties have been changed and are so high, the moon is here. And then the guy looks at it and he goes, 100 million berries? And starts shaking and runs his ass off. Luffy, as he's running, does those panels that are just iconic, where he replays all the things that are feeding his anger about the moment and why he has to go and help people find justice. Then he says, this man's probably been diving deep day after day without giving his body any time to decompress. This is my battle with the man who ruined my life. And he does the whole thing over and over again. I'm so sorry. We failed. We couldn't stop them. And builds himself up and hypes himself up so that by the time that he gets there into the town, and then somebody says, 100 million, 60 million. And then as a reader of this moment in your heart, you're like, oh, yes. Feel the peace of kicking Bellamy's ass. Luffy is in the middle of town, up high on top of the roof. The moon is watching everything. Doom. Bellamy comes out with his coat waving. You know what, Bellamy, I'm going to give you 3/4 points for drip. And then they have their little standoff, and Bellamy goes to the top of the roof. And it's absolutely awesome because you know that Bellamy is saying to himself, like, I don't care what this bounty said. In my opinion, you're nothing. And he's already kicked his ass once, so he's like, sure, come on. He says, this is no mistake. That's him, someone says in the crowd. They have their little tete-to-tete back and forth. An entire building lands on Luffy, and what does he do? Gets up, stands there, and waits to kick his ass. He goes, Spring Hopper! Bellamy disappeared. This is just like what he did with Rashio the Executioner. You're there, friend. Come to think of it, you're a lot like that old man and those monkeys. You believe the 400-year-old lies of that fool of his ancestors. And then he just boing, 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 boing. You want to see me land a punch? Crick. Oh, mic drop. Thank you, Oda. This is the moment we've been waiting for.
How hard do you have to crack your knuckles to crack them when they're made of rubber?
And then two full-paged panels
of just one punch.
Of the punch, boom, and then one of Bellamy's stupid face, missing teeth, split lip, full dent mark in the side of his face. Oh, so good. Not that I condone violence, but if you got to hit someone, let it be Bellamy. It was so good. It was a tasty treat smothered on a buttered piece of toast, and I ate it. And I was like, let's go back and watch that again. And then just when I thought it couldn't get any better, one little panel of his clenched fist with blood dripping off. Yeah, no, slow clap.
It's crazy how this so quickly Oda is able to build to wanting this man punched so desperately. And it could not feel more cathartic to have Bellamy have his face caved completely the fuck inward.
And it's just what you hope for, because sometimes, like, when Croc got his up and comings, you're happy. You're so happy. But it was so drawn out. You had respect for him as a person. You had respect for his game. Not what he was doing, but for his game. And here,
it took so long. It more felt like relief than catharsis. Where it's like, oh, finally over. We're fine.
Yes. So then, because when it happened with Crocodile Face, I was exhausted. I just wanted to go take a shower, get my pajamas on, and crawl into bed and be like, oh my God. But when it happened with Bellamy, I was just like, oh, My God,
Fuck
it's like
yes, Luffy. Thank you.
It's like he popped a cyst. Bellamy was a cyst. And we
Dungeon
were all like,
Masters? Dungeon Masters. This is a tip to you. This is why you need villains your players can stunt on. Like, the villains that it's hard for them to fight and have a big machinations, meaningful and important. But you need to take breaks where there's shitty people that your players get to fucking flex on. You need
100%.
to bring that into your campaign sometimes. Give your players a Bellamy. They don't just need crocodiles. Now, granted, I want to make it clear. Dungeon Masters, also give your players a crocodile. Impale them. Fuck them up. But just make sure you bring in the Bellamys.
You shish kebabber.
Look, it's about balance.
So this is another time. I used the word time. Did you see that? Nope, we can't use it yet. Never mind. I forgot. We go to Buggy. We go to Buggy and they don't manage to find the gold. And the person said it was like a gleam through the right eye, but I think it exists 1,000,000%. Super happy to see Buggy here. Don't get me wrong, I like it when we beat him up, but I also like that he keeps existing and that he's here because I've told you before, I think he's going to have to go onto Luffy's side at some moment. Then when we go on to the ship and Ace is there, and I'm so excited to see him. Hey Ace, do you want a high five? Ka-choo, ka-choo. Ace did want a high five. I'm glad I asked. He eats just like Luffy, meaning everything. If you don't tie it down, it's in his face, and then falls asleep. It was a really good time to get to find out about how afraid everybody is of Whitebeard, because they're like, yeah, is he asleep in the middle of the enemy? Don't you dare touch him. You cannot touch Ace because we are not pissing off Whitebeard. And when he wakes up, he says, so you know the old man, huh? Feels very familial, feels very uncle-y. That was one of my little things that I put into my clues. Then we move in.
Yeah.
And here we go. This is the place where Oda was like, how's your day going? And I was like, it's pretty good, Oda. Thank you for asking. And then Oda was like, can I just take you aside for a minute, Mama Druck?
Do you want to spend hours working on a cork-board? I'm
going to give you like 6 pages that are going to consume hours of your life. No, I don't think you will. It's okay. Well, we'll spend a little time on it. And he was like, no.
You don't understand what I'm doing here.
I don't think you know what's about to happen. And I was like, whatever.
Do you want to see 2 new warlords? Oh, that is a lot. Yeah, that's going to be so inconsequential, you're not even going to think about it.
Yes, because when I got there, you were like, what did you think of the new warlords? And I was like, oh, yeah, right. They showed up.
Right, there's new warlords. Yeah, okay. So we are introduced here to the leader of the Marines, leaders of the world government, the idea of the 3 powers, the statement that 2 of the great pillars of the world are the Marines and the warlords, the need for a new warlord, Lafitte of Blackbeard's crew showing up to demand that Blackbeard be in contention for the new warlord position, Suru, the high advisor or whatever title she has. Am I missing anything? There's so much.
Then the idea that you told me, the Council of Elders are either stars or planets in
it can be translated because star and planet are the same word in Japanese. It's either the 5 elder stars or 5 elder planets is the more accurate translation.
So we go to the sacred land of Marijo. Marijo has one meaning of wealth. Am I saying it right? Marijo?
Marijois is what I've heard the most, but who's to fucking say?
Okay, that's fine. And then it starts with doom. We're looking up Red Hair Shanks, and I'm immediately like, oh, I'm here. I'm here for this. We're going to talk about my man, Red Hair Shanks.
The elders have been introduced.
No, let me go through. First page goes, Red Hair Shanks. Yes, strange movements are afoot. Though he hasn't made any moves himself. Yes, he has sent out envoys, but any contact between Whitebeard and Shanks would be catastrophic. Exclamation point. That's a huge clue.
No, that tells you something big about the world, yes.
Oh, you betcha. And then you move forward and we get to see a 2-page spread of the 5 elder supreme leaders of the world government. And I cannot tell you that I was disappointed because these old dudes are recklessly cool.
They have, despite just looking like some old guys, they have so much weird swagger in the way that they're put together. I really love their designs.
Other than the Buddha dude, they're all dressed so similar. Shanks could do a lot of damage, but I don't think his ambition includes world conquest. We should assess the situation before making any hasty moves. Never mind that. Right now, we need to find a new warlord in the sea to replace Crocodile. We mustn't overlook anything. The destruction of the three great powers would reverberate throughout the world. They must be protected. Then I'm like, sweet Jesus. The questions keep coming. So here are the questions I started asking myself. Why can't Whitebeard and Shanks be together? Why do they care? How do they know that red-haired Shanks sent something over to Whitebeard? Why do they know that? How are they finding that out? Why do they care so much that they replace Crocodile right away? What are the three great powers? Why would they need to be protected so hard? What are we protecting them from? What are we protecting them from? What can hurt them? And what will happen if they aren't protected? So I'm going to move forward so I can move back.
Yeah.
There's so much in there.
We're going to get to there in CORK-BOARD, and I want to tell everybody, if you're reading along on Mama Rock, you're about to have more focused insight into these 6 pages than I think a first-time reader is meant to have. But I think you're in for an interesting time to be reading along on Mama Rock, because you are going to be reading at this with like so much focus and awareness of these lines of dialogue on these 6 pages.
So then he goes, yes, the 7 warlords of the sea have been summoned, but we don't know how many will come. They're pirates after all. What a nuisance Crocodile made of himself. But we can't afford to ignore the one who toppled him, this monkey D. Luffy fellow. And then we get introduced to, I'm sorry, watching Sir Don Quixote Flamingo walk is... Okay, and Sir Bartholomew Kuma, the bear with a Bible. I don't know why you have that Bible, and I don't know why it has a chick on the front doing whatever it is that she's doing. So we find out that the flamingo dude definitely has some telekinesis because he's able to make, which is great. That's a little
Someone
flash
was
forward.
asking, since we can no longer ask about Robin, if you wanted to make some Don Quixote devil fruit predictions.
Yeah, let's put that in the end, okay? I'm going to make a little note.
All right.
And then we meet the great advisor to Zoro, Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters, who looks to be about, in my esteemed estimation, 116. We meet the Buddha Sengoku, which is hilarious. So his name means peaceful civil war is what his name translates to.
Yeah, his title is Human Avatar of Nirvana, and his name means civil war.
Yeah. Which is just hilarious. But he walks around with a goat. If he eats that goat, I swear to God, I'm going to put my fingers right up his nose.
That goat's his friend.
It better be his friend.
That goat's his friend.
It's hard to trust a person whose name is Peaceful Civil War. But we also find something else. Stop your antics. Did you come here to start a war? So we discover that interfering with one of the 7 warlords or the 2 of them together could cause a war. And we have a discovery that how much power they have. And then what's the most important part of this whole entire chapter? Thank you for asking. It happens on page 7 of 20 when my main man Mihawk walks into the room. And you immediately know what's going to go on with Mihawk. The 2 great powers of the 7 warlords of the sea and the high commander of the Navy. But isn't a round table meaningless? And then I love that he says, I'm just here as an interested bystander. I'm a little curious about the pirates you'll be discussing, that's all. So we know that Mihawk is there to watch over the interest of Luffy. And you're like, why? Well, he is great friends with Red Hair Shanks. Why would he do that for Red Hair Shanks, though? Is Red Hair Shanks more powerful than Mihawk? That would mean to me that Red Hair Shanks would be way, way more powerful than I've been led to believe. I start to have little spidey senses tingle here.
Previously, you figured he was a warlord, but this Purple Mushroom time basically confirms that Shanks is not one of the 7 warlords because 100%. He didn't show up to the summons. They were talking about him, but they were talking about him in a context where he very clearly doesn't work for the world government.
Obviously, Red Hair Shanks is not a warlord. Otherwise, they would have talked about him in that way. And they don't want him to meet up with Whitebeard.
So he's a big deal.
And he has influence over Mihawk. So that is a ridiculously big deal. And then I remembered an interesting thing about that Red Hair Shanks, when he was there and Mihawk walked up to him and said, I thought you'd want to see this, and gave him the picture of Luffy's first bounty, for $30 million or berries or whatever the
30
heck
million
it was.
berries, yeah.
He had said to him then, did you come here to fight me? And he said, I wouldn't fight somebody who's missing an arm or something to that effect. And you can just not quote me. And he said, I could still kick your ass. Well, he didn't say ass, but I think he wanted to. He does legitimately believe that he could still take Mihawk. And I'm going to say that I watched Mihawk destroy Zoro with a kitchen knife. No, not even. Like a tiny dinner knife. The fact that Mihawk would be listening to Red Hair Shank makes me say, okay, Red Hair Shanks, you have just gone so far up on my strength level. And then we meet a person I hate.
Okay.
I hate him. I don't know.
You hate Lafitte of the Blackbeard Pirates?
Yeah, no, that's fair to say. I hate him.
Can I say why Lafitte impresses me?
Go for it.
He's not my favorite design of the Blackbeard Pirates, but this is a meeting in the Holy Land in a building that houses the heads of the world government and currently has the high advisor of the Navy, as well as the head of the Navy, as well as, 3 of the warlords of the sea? And
Sure.
This fucker snuck in to deliver a message directly. That's wild shit.
He should have drawn eyebrows on so he could have looked impressed with himself. He did sneak in with tap dancing shoes, and then he got in there and he played putting on the Ritz and started swinging his cane around and doing a little tat. No,
Impressive
not his
as
friend.
fuck.
Fine, but I just want to take a Sharpie and give him some eyebrows. And
Stealth
then
skills like no other human being has.
He let's leave him for a minute. We meet Rockstar, Red Hair Shank's new person with a 94 million berry bounty.
Which also tells you that Shanks is a big deal if a newbie on his crew has nearly Luffy's bounty.
And he seems to be terrified that he'll disappoint Red Hair Shanks, which immediately goes whoop, and up goes Red Hair Shanks again.
Shanks gains stock in this in this arc.
This chapter of this arc should be called, hey, did you notice Shanks is awesome? So then he freaks out. We see Whitebeard be like, no, I'm gonna just watch your little thing. And we just kind of get a glimpse of Whitebeard. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we want to show you Whitebeard, but the problem is we need to be able to put it on 2 panels because he's ridiculously enormous.
He's a very large man.
Edward Newgate is huge. So huge that he's holding a cask of grog in his hand, and it looks like a nice big cup. Then we go to a thing that says, on a winter island. And he goes, Captain, give me another chance. I've never been humiliated like this. Which I believe, because you have a 94 million berry bounty, which says to me like...
You're doing okay for yourself.
You probably paid your dues already, and now you feel like an absolute fool being a person who can't deliver a frickin' letter. And then we see Shanks just sitting around with his crew, happy as can be, just like, that's funny, don't worry about it. And then he said, what are you going to do? Well, we're going to go see him. Ooh, hear that, men? We're going to fight. All right. Make sure we have some excellent booze. Shanks, my man. With the scars across your face. Shanks, I see your face. Where did you get those scars? Talk to me, Shanks.
Whoever gave Shanks those scars must be fucking serious because of how high Shanks' stock is this chapter.
Exactly. That's why I'm obsessed with his freaking scars, because I'm saying, like, come on now. Who is just delivering a 3/ scar across the eye to that dude? Who? Then we go back to a moment that I was like, I kind of almost want Blackbeard to be one of the 7 warlords after this, because the very first thing that we see is Bellamy's second in command get his whole face smashed into the ground, and then he goes, shut up. I don't deal with small fry. I'm looking for a head worth 100 million berries. I've got a reputation to make. And then the walk up and the size, because you have all the normal sized people underneath. And I don't think that I had any perspective of how big they were until I saw the walk up. And the walk up is absolutely gorgeous. But to find out that the way that he thinks that he's going to make his name and get in to be one of the 7 warlords is to take down Luffy, you're like, oh my God, my boy, you're so big now.
You're such a big deal. I mean, he did take out a warlord. It makes sense.
100%. It does, but it was just like, yay!
Hey, you want a guy who can't get beat up by Monkey D. Luffy? Proof positive.
So the end of this whole arc, before we go into CORK-BOARD corner, when they finally get to the darkened sky and they're going to the knock-up, and they don't know that it's going to include a whirlpool, which was great. I just want to pause. I want one of the monkey people to become the ship, right? I've said it before, because
Yep.
can we just take a moment for the Mary? Come on. She's shiny. Not so much when she gets to the top, but shiny. It's fantastic. But one of the other things that lifted my perspective of Blackbeard up was he tries to follow them up the knock-up stream. He gets blown backwards. His ship is blown apart. And does he stop and go like, oh, and rage? No, he's just like, oh, well. Well,
Shit happens.
He is Shikara ga Nea so to the core. He's like, well, I guess that didn't go well, and now we're at the bottom, and my ship is in a billion pieces. His crew gets upset for him and is like, now whatever are we going to do? And he's like, well, if our will is strong, then we will meet him again. And he's not even worried.
Yeah, we got to get to the cork board. It's already been 2 hours, and I feel like a cork board might be a 1 hour project today.
It's not going to be. It's going to be a half an hour, quick and dirty, in and out. Cork board corner.
Wait, do you want to do our subscriber plug for YouTube first?
Okay. Oof. The pressure.
You wanted to make this one for aliens, right? You told me to remind you that the last one that you did one that was too human centric. You needed one for aliens.
You are right. I did feel bad about that. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
Hello there, aliens.
You almost said it.
I gotta start again.
People want to count you in again. Everybody counter in. Let's go, chat.
Count me in.
Let's go counter in for the YouTube plug. There was a 3, 2, and I got so excited, and then it's 3, 2, 5.
Are you an alien? Do you feel like this content speaks to you in your soul? Well, that might be because I'm also an alien. If you're feeling great alien goodness, take this moment to subscribe so that you can come along for the journey wherever we go. Who knows where we'll go? Well, everybody who's finished the series knows, but who knows where we'll go and what we'll find next? Press the subscribe button, then press the bell so you hear about everything. And also, if you click on the like, you're going to help people find us, and they should, because people can't find things as well as aliens.
Incredible.
Cork-BOARD. All right, where should we start? Good point. Let's all of us go back to the most important page in the entire world. For now, we are going to see the Council of Elders. Oh, I found them. I found them. They are 233. Thank you, chat.
Okay.
You rocked it
Hooray,
out.
we've done it. 233.
Okay, so I was staring for, I don't know, a decade or so at the double spread of the Council of Elders. I had the idea that they were either called the stars or the planets. Yeah, I knew that they were super important. Yeah. And I told you all the different things it started to do. And as I was staring at the picture and trying to pull out little bits and pieces, I said to myself, what the frickin' hell is on the wall and behind them? And why is there so many of them?
And then I was watching a YouTube video at the exact same time as you said that, and I was like, I think that's magic circles.
Yeah. And then I was like, those are magic circles. And then I said, because we weren't sure, because I said, I'm looking at this second panel here, and I can't tell whether or not they intended that magic circle to be bent or not.
And it turns out that in the original Japanese, it wasn't bent. They are right on the wall. And they just did kind of a lazy copy paste to add an extra one when they changed the kanji doom into an English doom and opened up extra wall space.
Yeah, so that worked out bad for them, but it worked out great for me. But because they were that way, it made me feel like they had power in them. So started to look up magic circles. And as I was doing that, I realized that magic circles are boundaries for reservoirs of concentrated powers. They're doorways for gods. They're about wholeness, perfection, and unity. They do the cycles of the season, protection, and they move clockwise like the sun in order to move through them. And then I went deeper into magic circle land. And then as I went in, one of the fourth pages that I went into talked about how magic circles are always built on top of directionality, north, east, south, and west. And that in the directionality, that each one of the directions also comes with an animal or a deity that has protection. And so I was like, a deity that has protection. And I was like, okay, well, that's fascinating. And then I went back into this picture and it was like, never mind that. Right now we need to find a new warlord. Da, 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 da. And they're talking about red hair Shanks and being like, it would be disastrous if he met Whitebeard. And I'm like, why? And what is red haired Shanks? And why is he so big? And then all of a sudden, a freaking light goes off. I believe that the sacred circle, if you look on page 233, 17 of 20, that if you look at the circles, there's a small circle in the center, then another circle around that, and then one on the outside, right? And so if you're looking at it, and I was trying to think about what could the third pillar be, I knew that it was government and I knew that it was warlords. And I was like, what is the third pillar? What are the things that I think? And then I was like, well, I think that the Azure Dragon is one of the cardinal directions. This is something I've already said. And then I was like, whoa, wait a minute. If the Azure Dragon is one of the cardinal directions, is it possible that I know more cardinal directions? And I thought about all the different things I'd found out about red hair Shanks and said to myself, like, dude, clearly he also has to be a cardinal direction. It's the only thing to me that explained why he had all this power and why Mihawk had so much respect for him, even given where Mihawk was in his own journey and how powerful he was. I thought, oof, that really fits. It also fits because then you totally wouldn't want Whitebeard, who's the white dragon of the West, to get together with the vermilion bird of the South. And you would actually be plotting and finding them. I then found out that there is a center circle when you do directionality. Am I allowed to go there right now? Don't say what it is.
Go right into it.
But then this center circle is Luffy. And he would be the yellow dragon, which would represent Earth. And that would make him 100% all those times that I said that this image in Arlong Park, where the sun is up behind him and he's standing in it. And I said, it's almost like Luffy is the sun. And then there was the one in Alabasta when I was like, oh, look at this. Luffy is again right in front of the sun and the sun is coming up behind him like he is the sun. Then I was like, boom, center, yellow dragon, which is connected to Amaterasu, which makes Luffy the embodiment of the sun god, and a yellow dragon in the center of the directionality. And then I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense, because if that was true, you would have this happen. You would have the vermilion dragon of the South take care of Luffy when he was a little boy, watch out for him, be in the town with him, make sure that he was doing okay. And then he grows up, he goes off because the vermilion dragon can't stay there forever. The vermilion dragon, the vermilion bird has things to do. And so he leaves and says to Luffy, like, no, I don't want you running around. Like, I've done all this work with you, but why are you so interested in being a pirate? And he leaves, and who protects him right as somebody's about to end his life? Boom, the Azure Dragon of the East comes in and is like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that Luffy then, and I said it in the very beginning when we were in Logue Town, but now this pedal goes upping it, that Luffy is a reincarnation of Goldie Roger. Because
so we're committing to that as a prediction, as well as piles of other stuff in there.
Izanagi, who is Yang, is one of the two first creators of Japan, with Izunami, the wife. Out of his right eye is the first child that he brings into the world, or births, and that's Amaterasu, his left eye, born from his left eye, like Luffy.
Which is where Luffy has his scar.
And then we have his second child. I have to pull it off my board. Tsukiyomi no Mikoto. Tsukinomi no Mikoto. And this is a moon god born out of his right eye, which is interesting because one of the translations apparently that people have is Tsukiyo, which means moonlight at night, and Mi, which means watching, which would explain why his second child is always looking down at the earth and watching everything that's going on. Susanoo, who is third born from the nose, is in charge of the seas, storms, some agriculture, death, pestilence, disease, chaotic destruction, and is also revered because they are a guardian to the gateway of death. If these three deities are in place, plus we have Izanagi as the ultimate deity at the top, and then we have Izanami as the ultimate deity at the bottom, then I think that in total there's 5 deities. One of them is ruled as the ultimate ruler of heaven because the two of them together created Japan. It didn't exist. They create the universe. They create everything. So if they are there, they're not interfering in everyday things. But then I wondered, is it possible that there is a connection? Because we were talking and Drock said, what's the thing you said about religions or religions that are...
Okay, so you were talking about the idea that they are divine, that there's these 3 pillars of the world, that the 3 great powers, the 3 pillars we're talking about are the government, the 7 warlords, and this third thing, which is the 4 directions, the winds. And I was thinking, that's interesting because that's divinity. And what I brought up is you're drawing on Shintoism, and Shintoism is by many religious scholars considered to be a form of animism. And in animism, generally, there's sort of the 3 planes of reality, and they're blurred, but the planes are the animal / natural. So this, in some forms of animism, is both, in some it's just one, is the animal and the earth itself. Things like rocks, rivers, etc., etc. That's how Japanese Shintoism approaches it. Then you have the human, which is the human, and then you have the divine. From there, you kind of assess that the divine in your idea would be the 4 directions, and because they're all animal themed, the warlords are the animal, and the navy as the last great pillar would be the human.
Yeah, so that means that the center, or the tiny circle in the middle of the magical circle, is going to be the divinity. So it will be watched over by Amaterasu, which is going to be Luffy. And then the layer that is warlords, and all the warlords, like you said, are different animals. So that would be the moon god over there taking care of them, that pillar. And then you have the pillar of government, which is the largest outer circle. And it gets to be large because it's infinite. Like, we don't know how big the Navy can get and the government can get. They can grow infinitely depending upon the needs. And that would be taken care of by Susanoo. Susanoo is destructive, pestilence, disease, but is also a guardian of the gateway of death and also does agriculture, etc. So it makes sense that that's human. The moon god is in charge of cycles of nature and connection to the natural world, which would be, in my opinion, the animals. And then Amaterasu is in charge of like the 4 winds, prosperity, protection, and fortune. And they're everyone is constantly talking about how lucky Luffy is. You're so lucky. You had good luck. You're a lucky boy. And so that totally is connected to the idea of Amaterasu with the prosperity and good fortune and protection and luck. So, yeah. So then I wondered, and this is like not a kind of a pedal goes up moment, but I'm trying to figure out where the hell the devil fruit comes from. And I was wondering if it was possible that each one of the deities, and I mean all 5 of them, were responsible for the creation of dragon fruit. And they kind of fall within each one of their specialities. Like, for instance, Chopper got a human fruit. Well, that was something that Susanoo could be a okay, pedal goes up. That's something that Susanoo.
All right, so they're made by the entities that you believe are the 3 things responsible for each of the 3 pillars. The 3 super deities.
No, not just the 3 things, also the other 2 deities.
Okay.
Izanagi and Izanami.
Yeah. All right.
So all 5.
So those 5 deities are responsible for the creation of devil fruits. This prediction is locked in.
Also, Luffy being the reincarnation of something would explain why he's being guarded and taken care of. Why Shanks gave him the yellow straw hat that looks like a halo on his head. Like, he grows up, he does all these things, blah, 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 and then boom, when it's time, he puts the straw hat on Luffy's head and is like, okay, buddy, carry on. And then he has a halo that he walks around with. And so there's all these little things that I think that it would help explain, which makes me think, even though I wanted the Council of Elders to be the stars, I think that would make them divine, right? Like, in my opinion, the Council of Elders being stars would mean that stars are more divine, whereas I think that the Council of Elders are part of the human world, which would make them, in my opinion, earthly. So I think that they're planets. And I just want to put out there that there's sometimes when I don't have a lot of predictions because I don't believe
some of these
that
episodes are. Jaya is so dense with new information. The scope of the world
absolutely was.
broadens.
And keep in mind, I didn't dig into any of the gold, and I didn't dig into
You didn't dig into the actual
Noland.
mystery that's been set up for you. You dug into a broader mystery. You ignored the primary mystery that's been set up for you to look at.
First of all, I felt like it was a misdirection. When I print out my pages, because I don't think that I have gotten to the depth of this yet. I think there's so much more in Jaya, and I'm just not finding it yet.
And I think Oda just hasn't given you all the tools to look at. Like, you're already noticing things that I think I don't know anyone else who's noticed these at this point. Like,
but I think he's left more things out there. Like with the pillar information.
The VOD will be available.
I'm going to print out the pages of the the Council of Elders, the 5 elders, who, by the way, I just want to put out there, I believe can totally beat the crap out of anyone they wanted to. Well, not anyone. They're not killing Luffy or anyone, but I think they have massive strength.
I told you that, like, there's been a long-standing debate in the fan base if they are fighters or just bureaucrats, and I've been decidedly on side they're just bureaucrats, and because you say they're actually fighters, that might be enough for me to change what camp I reside in.
Yeah, I think they're totally fighters. Okay, what do we usually do before we end the show?
Okay, so I don't think we need to change top devil fruits because I don't think spring fruit is taking over.
Oh no! Oh, who is picking that crap?
So the spring fruit not going to take anything's place, so I don't think we need to do devil fruits.
You've made me feel like
people
maybe
want you to guess Doflamingo's devil fruit first before we do this.
Oh, okay. So he has some sort of telekinesis because he's making people attack themselves.
Okay.
So he forces people to do like a sibling. Why are you hitting yourself? Hey, cut it out. So he ate what's it called? No, because influence is the wrong word because you're not going to eat an influence fruit. Yeah, influence fruit. Almost like a force fruit. Yeah, no, I'm going to just go with force fruit for now.
The force fruit. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now we can move on to the favorite characters of Jaya.
Well, it's a hard one for me. But, yeah. Number 2 is Blackbeard.
Hell yes. My man getting the recognition he deserves.
I can't lie. He was freaking awesome in this. It was good stuff. I'm not going to lie.
Even I wouldn't give him number 1, though, in this arc.
Are you going to give it to the Council of 5 Elders?
No.
All right. I'm giving it to Luffy.
I'm giving it to Luffy. This man delivered more catharsis in one panel than I have felt from entire stories.
Yeah, no, for me, number 1, top of the charts, Luffy. Okay, next on my list, number 3 is Nami. And I don't care what anyone says. She discovered how to sail up the Naka. I think that was a kind of an amazing moment, and I think she gets undersold on it. Do I enjoy it as much as some of the other things? No. You know what? I'm making her 5.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Nami. Nami, you just slid down.
Look, she's great, but you just heard yourself be like, do I enjoy it as much? And go, that's what this is.
No,
that's what this list is. The list is what I enjoy.
Yeah. Oh, this. Okay, am I doing 3?
I don't know. I guess we've done 1, 2, and 5.
Number 4 is the Council of Elders.
Fair enough.
I have to thank the royal.
Do you have a particular favorite design among the Council of Elders? I think my favorite's either Rabbi or Samurai Gandhi.
Oh, my favorite of the Elders? You betcha I do. My favorite one is the Buddha, or the Gandhi.
Gandhi? Samurai Gandhi has such, like, presence.
I forgot to make another prediction.
Oh, which prediction did we forget?
I'm sorry, everyone. I forgot to predict that every single one of the divine people that are directions, White Tiger is Whitebeard, we don't know. The Black Tortoise, Azure Dragon is Dragon. The Vermilion Bird is Red Hair Shanks. The center is Luffy, and they are all related.
Okay, yeah, you thought they were all the D clan, right?
They're all D's.
All right. Now, one thing I want to do before we go here.
And I also said that I think the D could stand for direction.
Okay. We can. God, this so many predictions. The D could stand for. I have to make little cards every time you predict something. I forgot that I owed you what we agreed on is a gold star for a weird reason. Which is
what is it?
You predicted that one of the warlords could control the weather. You predicted one of the warlords could move the earth. You predicted one of them could fly.
Yeah.
Crocodile can control the weather, but only in drying things out. He can't do and creating sandstorms. He can't do like a lot of weather. He can fly, but as a sandstorm, which is flying but not flying. It's somewhere in between. And he can move the earth, but only insofar as creating chasms by disintegrating the ground and making sand, or by moving sand. And what we decided is all of those almost rights together will add up to you getting one gold star, because he does kind of 3 different things you predicted, but not fully. One gold star.
In this moment, when I'm getting the gold star, I wanted to get into the edits.
Well,
don't forget Blackbeard pursuit of.
Oh my God! You did predict Blackbeard would gold star because you predict Blackbeard would pursue Luffy for some reason. I don't know why the fuck you said that. I don't know what made you think that.
I just knew. He was gonna hunt Luffy.
You can stop at 259 or 253. If you stop at 253 and you're like, this is a good stopping point, you can stop. Otherwise, read to 259.
Done. 259. I adored this whole arc. It was delicious.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you liked one of my favorite parts of the series as much as I did.
I think I have 3 pages from this one I'm going to print out that are going to go around the outside of my. Oh, show them some close-ups of the other ones.
I'll show you a close-up of the middle one, because the middle one is where all of this stems from.
Well, that's where everything else came from, yeah.
Yeah.
Where I started to be like, oh.
Here, while you're doing your little outro, everybody can look at this.
Yeah, I loved this arc. This arc, to me, was just like, I gotta quit predicting that Oda has limits and that he won't do weird things. I have to remember that Oda is gonna make me work my arse off to find all the bits and pieces and to start connecting them. But that he makes it so freaking rewarding. Right or wrong, so rewarding. And I am having more fun every minute that we're doing this. And getting held back like this and being told what to read up to is hard. But on the other hand, it makes me feel like when I was reading this that I'm part of, I can't see the community yet, but I'm starting to feel the bigness of the community, the way that the world is starting to expand for me inside of One Piece. I'm starting to understand how deeply this community goes. And having you guys here on the journey, once again, absolute pure delight. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you guys so much. I had such a good time talking about this one. Jaya just feels weirdly special for some reason. It opens up the world in a way that feels incredible, and it's been so good to get to share this with this community that we're growing, with my mom, with just being able to talk about my love of this has been so fun alone, and having you guys here has made it incredible. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mama Drock, for just, it is so fun. Thank you so much for being part of it. And to everyone out there, it's been lovely talking to you.
Although now that I think I know who he is, I feel a little less likely to want to do it, lest he smite me. Okay.
We'll plant that seed for CORK-BOARD Corner.
I don't want to be smoked. Okay,
here we go.
That
is what you said for a second there.
I don't want to be smut.